What is good? Osiris here, stuck in the middle. I do uploads every day at 9 a.m. Thank you for joining. I have a book here that I want to go over. It's called Not My Idea, a book about whiteness. And this is a book that's in 30 districts, at least 30 districts in our country, throughout 15 different states. And this one is, I'm going to do a reaction to a teacher doing a virtual session with this book. You can talk about critical race theory and what it looks like in practice, but it's different when you actually dig into it and see it. For me, at least, it's eye opening.
Hi, y'all. It's me, Miss Leah. We are going to go ahead and get started with the book that I referenced in the video yesterday, Not My Idea, a book about whiteness. When grown-ups try to hide scary things from kids, oh no, not again. What? Mom? What not again? It's usually because they're scared too. Who is that with their hands up? Why is that policeman screaming at him? Bang, 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 bang. They want to bury the truth. So right now in this image, you see this remote control with the power button, so the TV is going to get turned off. And the adult in this situation says, "You don't need to worry about this. You're safe, you understand?" And the child says, "No," or is thinking, like, "No, I don't understand," and "No, I don't feel safe." Let's learn more. Our family is kind of everyone. We don't really see color. Deep down, we all know color matters. So then the child goes on to draw this picture of what they just saw on the TV screen, right? So even if the adults around you aren't talking about what's happening in the world, you're still seeing it.
When grown-ups try to hide things, it's usually because they're scared too. They want to bury the truth. What does burying the truth sound like to you? My interpretation is that this book starts out, this is the first page of the book. The book starts out saying, your parents are scared, lying scumbags. That's how this book starts out. That's my interpretation of it. If they don't agree with what we're going to cover, because the book hasn't covered anything yet. So if they are going to disagree or not talk about what we're covering today, they are scared, lying scumbags. There was an article on this book a year ago, and I quote from that article from the New York Times, and this is a teacher talking about her students' reaction to this book. So this is real life, the real life testimony right here. Mrs. Staub said her students responded well to the book, in part because they are often starved for such difficult conversations. She said the students felt it was validating to hear that adults aren't always telling us the truth. On this page, it says our family is kind to everyone. We don't see color, which is something that you might hear in many households across America. It was actually one of the driving points of the civil rights movement. And this is why it's critical race theory in practice. Critical race theory started by Derek Bell in the 70s to kind of admonish the civil rights movement for not doing enough. And that's it right there. That's the exact same principle, exact same theory in print. And this book that has a child drawing a gun held by a police officer. This is not like some superhero thing or a make believe or a water gun. This is encouraging a child not to have a conversation with their parents, but to draw separately a gun from a police officer pointing at a person who has their hands up and the police officer shoots. We're not even in, we just started the book. Notice this book doesn't say, let your parents know there's something on your mind and you want to talk about it. Notice this book doesn't say, we talked about something in school, mommy, daddy, trusted adult. can we talk about, I need help going through this. I trust you. Help guide me through this. No, 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 no. That's not the purpose of this. The purpose of this is to instill, that's why we call it indoctrination, to instill something in the kid. And if the parent doesn't confirm it at home, that parent is, we'll get to that later.
Skin color makes a difference in how the world sees you and in how you see the world. I want to bring my aunt a gift. This will only take a minute. It makes a difference in how much trouble seems to find you or let you be, right? So I think one of the things that the author's noting here is based on your skin color, trouble can seem to find you, right? You can be doing the same thing as someone else who has a different skin tone than you, but treat it differently. You'll be treated differently just based on your skin tone alone. In stores, in cars, on sidewalks, at school, your skin color affects the most ordinary daily experiences, including which neighborhoods welcome you, so where people get to live. So relieved you got here safely. This is another adult in this child's life, and the child says, why wouldn't we? And the adult says, the protest. Another adult says, they're blocking the road. And the author adds a quote here that comes from the folks who are protesting. And it says, marchers came to demand justice for the unarmed African American. They demand an end to killings across the nation, part of a shameful pattern that has changed lives, particularly of young men of color. Marchers reference past victims in a video taken by a bystander. Breaking news. Family speaks out on police shooting. You may get the messages that racism is happening only to Black and brown people. I think this line right here is really important. Racism is a white person's problem, and we are all caught up in it. And so the adults are saying, I can't watch the news. The police officer was just doing his job. And the child is confused about what they should really be doing, right? You see the child here looking worried. Their back is kind of to the other two adults because that's not how they see it. So let's keep learning. Mostly by refusing to look at it. Come away from the TV. Look, I made your favorite. You can see this. Racial justice, we must step up. So the child is referring to the way many people decide to deal with racism in our society is by ignoring it. And something we should all maybe know, ignoring it is not going to make it go away. Not talking about it is not going to act like it doesn't exist. Not talking about it with children doesn't make it not exist. And so what this child is saying is that they're very confused as to why adults are trying to ignore and not name what's happening in the world, because these are real experiences. Have you all seen on the news any of these things that are happening in the world? Have you made note of it? Have you had discussions in your families? I'd love to know. Understanding the truth takes courage, especially a painful truth about your own people, your own family. And so what this child is saying here through the author's words is, when you notice that your family doesn't want to talk about these things, when you notice that your family doesn't want to acknowledge what they're seeing on TV, that might make you feel a certain type of way. It could cause pain. It could cause sadness. It could cause confusion. Even people, well, the author says, even people you love may behave in ways that show they think they are the good ones. So there's images here, right, of folks walking down the street, and then this person who's in their car, they lock their doors because they see folks who look different than them. And the child is referencing that's not okay either, right? It's not okay to see someone with different skin tone and think something bad about them all of a sudden. And they're referencing this by showing that the adult chose to lock their doors while folks of a different skin tone were walking by. You can bring your curiosity to learn about it and see that it's true. I'll be over here if you need me, okay? That's the parent. In the United States of America, white people have committed outrageous crimes against Black people for 400 years. All along, every step of the way, people who love justice and love each other have been fighting back. Many white people did things they never should have done. One is that many people who did not have white skin, specifically Black people, Black and brown folks, were denied bank loans. Many folks were given notices of eviction to move out of the areas in which they had developed and created so that new things could come about and new areas could be created. We talked about the voter registration test and the different things that were required of African Americans to have the right to vote. And they were denied these rights. There were lots of things put into place to keep African American people from voting. And we're seeing some of those same things happening in our society today.
So you see, she's hinting at the Georgia laws. That's straight up politics with fourth, fifth, and sixth graders, and a book that the author says is recommended for 8-year-olds and up. That is straight up Democratic establishment talking point propaganda. Now, the book didn't have that in there, but it leads you right to it. It doesn't need to have it in there. You read the book and you talk about it, and the teacher is going to lead you. A teacher reading this book isn't going to lead you towards a libertarianism. That's not where they're going to go with this.
Many other white people failed to see the problem with this. This author says here, these choices put wealth and power into white hands, homes, and neighborhoods. Some white people joined the leaders of Black liberation. There's still racism in the world today. This image here of Colin Kaepernick taking a knee is from 2017, right? We're only in 2020. So these things, these injustices, the racism and the hatred, it's still happening today in our society. And it won't change if we ignore it. It will change if each of us can continue to see the beauty that the other person has to offer. And then we.
This is the history that they're talking about, that last 4 pages. When I say they, a lot of people who are for critical race theory, they make the case that people are against it because they don't want history to be taught. In this book, you've got about 5 pages of history, and it's prefaced with trying to damage the relationship between children and adults in their lives. And then you put a little bit of history in there, very vague, no context, and then you get right back to opinion. So you've got opinion, a little dab of history, and then finish with opinion. And then you say, I don't like that being taught to my class. Now you're against history, when this is not a history book.
Racism is still happening. It keeps changing and keeps being the same. And yet, just being here, alive in this moment, you have a chance to care about this, to connect. But connecting means opening, and opening sometimes feels like breaking. Mom, I don't feel good. Uh-oh, should I pull over? I need to know what's going on. What are you talking about? Why didn't anyone teach me real history? I do see color. I see yours, mine, and everybody's. You can't hide what's right in front of me. I know that what that police officer did was wrong. Go with your instincts on this one. Racial justice is possible, but only if we're honest with each other and ourselves. The mom says to the daughter, okay, geez, you don't have to yell. And I wonder if this has happened to you all. Whenever you feel really passionate about something, do you find yourself getting a little bit louder, right? A little bit, people say, enraged, right? Because so when the author says racial justice is possible, I truly believe that. But it's only possible if we stand up for the injustices that are happening.
Oh, so it feels like breaking because you're going against adults that you love and respect and admire. This book is the children's version of a struggle session. And the struggle sessions happened in China under the communist Mao era. That was about 1950 to 1976. In this book, Violence in China, that is very, very good read, it says the primary and most frequent form of attacking the accused during the Cultural Revolution, like we're having now in our country, the Cultural Revolution, was the public struggle session. always dehumanizing and often violent. These sessions spared few individuals the verbal and physical abuse that were their hallmark, usually held in the work unit of the accused, in classrooms, offices, and auditoriums. The public struggle session consisted of attacks by colleagues, students, friends, and sometimes even relatives, people one knew and saw every day. Subordinates were pitted against superiors, students against teachers, friends against friends, colleagues against colleagues, and even spouse against spouse, rending the basic fabric of Chinese social relationships. So don't think this is about just white parents and children. So if I try to teach, if my son goes to school, and he's going to kindergarten soon, this book, again, is recommended by the author for 8-year olds and higher. This woman that's teaching in Austin, Texas, is talking to fourth through sixth graders. If I try to give my son a different perspective, then that pain that they're talking about is his need, or him doing the right thing is to fight me. And that's why the young lady in the story was yelling at her mother. She's yelling at that point. That's why the mother said, "You don't have to yell." The kid's yelling, and then now the teacher's adding in and justifying, "Hey, it's okay. You see that passion? You're right. They're wrong. Remember, they're the scared lying scumbag." You have to break that relationship. If this cultural revolution that we're going through is going to be successful from whoever's doing it, why ever they're doing it, you have to break. And this has happened in history. I'm not going to go on in too much detail on that. This has happened before in history. You have to break the parent and child, the guardian and child bond. Because what will happen is they'll teach this stuff in school, they'll come home, especially somebody like myself will be like, "Well, let me give you another perspective." I would want to be gentle with that, because if you come too hard, they're going to rebel against you. But I want to first hear what they're saying at school, and then frame it and give them a different perspective. And they're going to have to make up their own choice, in my opinion. I'm not going to make up a choice for my sons, but I'm going to give them a different perspective. That's what that book is about. The core of that book is breaking that bout and really taking the power out of my hands. And that's why people are saying you can't take your kids to school. You can't take them to public schools. That's why they're saying that. Now, not every school's teaching this book. Not every school's as deep into this, but this is, again, in 15 different states, 30 districts at least.
I see a playground over there. Want to get some air? Yes. Your history's not all written yet. What do you want it to say? This is truly a good point. And this is how the author ends the book, but they put some more resources, that we're going to talk through on the next couple pages. But I think this is a really key point, right? What do you want it to say? Want to know whose liberation you are fighting for? Meaning your freedom, meaning your ability to be seen and loved and felt and lifted up in this world.
Here's that word of liberation. I showed the tweet from Colin Kaepernick. He said, we're gonna fight for liberation for all. I don't remember the exact phrase, but it was about July 4th last year, 2020. And he said, "I reject your white supremacist holiday." And he's saying we all aren't liberated. There it is in the book, white supremacy in the book, liberation in the book, as if people aren't liberated in this country.
The author goes on to say, whiteness is a bad deal. It always was. Dude, we can see your ponytail. I'm not really sure. I don't understand that part of the book as much, but maybe one of you can explain it to me.
Yeah, I do need to explain it to you. It's the devil is what they're showing. Yeah, that's an important part of the book to know. It's the pointy tail is the tail of the devil, associating whiteness with the devil. Now, let me be clear that this author, in my opinion, because this whole thing is interpretation, the author, in my opinion, is not saying all white people are the devil. They're saying all white people that don't agree with this concept in this book is the devil. Now, I know that's not much better, but I just want to make sure I understand the difference. And that's why, so this person reading the story, when they read it, they kind of skip the whiteness part when they're reading the contract. Because I think that it's rubbing them the wrong way, and they want to clean that up for the younger audience that they're talking about. And she doesn't even understand that they're saying that it's a deal with the devil. It's a devil saying whiteness is the devil. So anyone who does not agree with this has succumbed. Again, it doesn't matter about race. That would include me. Anyone who does not agree with this book and this concept here is a part of whiteness, systemic racism, white supremacy, creating systemic racism. You are a victim of the system of systemic racism, and you are the devil in this book. I'm going to end with this. There was a high school teacher in Tennessee, a baseball coach, dismissed from school after he assigned a Ta-Nehisi Coates essay and poem about white privilege. In response to that, Nicole Hannah Jones tweeted, "I am telling you all, we are in dangerous times." And I happened to see that, and I said, no one has a problem with people embracing this twisted American disease in the privacy of their own home or in private businesses. Just don't bring it to our schools. The fact that they don't respect that tells you everything. And that was a red district. So Nicole Hannah Jones, if you want that done in a blue district, get it done in the blue district. In the red district, they're not going to have that. It's politicized because it's political nonsense. Then I said, could you imagine going somewhere and having someone trying to talk to your kids about politics and you say, please just keep that away from them? We don't want to get into that. And they call you a racist and continue to do it? It's one of the most bizarre things. It might be the most bizarre. This whole stuff is the most bizarre, brainwashed, cultish religion craziness that I've ever seen in my life. Take care.